Warning: the following content may contain elements that are not suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
To do stuff like
No, I remember specifically because that was a big deal. Like when I first checked into the role, like into platoon sergeant, like everything was a disaster. Like all we were in red in most of the courses that we needed to do. We were red in like the training requirements we had to have. That's why you know like those whole positions opened up. Like, oh, we need to fill training NCO and all that, and like the whole team was adamant about getting us into the green, right? And the Humvee thing was like I remember hounding all the squad leaders like, dude, we have to get this done by like this. I think it was by like July. We started in like May or something like that, and then like by July we have to have the majority of us in green, and we did. Yeah. We all managed to get in, or not all, but like 90%. We were green in Humvee completions and
again, like, well, this was said like to me. It was like, yo, you have like no sense of urgency. I think you can imagine who probably said that to me.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
And it's like when he said that, it rubbed me the wrong way for like a good 10 seconds, and then I'm like, is there really something to be upset about it at this moment? I mean, because like we're supposed to like leave at like 10 o'clock or whatever. I'm like, things weren't working. It's like, well, if it doesn't work, what am I supposed to be freaking out about? They're working on it. Is it going to get done any faster if I'm like hounding them, freaking out on them, or if I'm stressing out? I don't think so.
I'm surprised to hear you say that you took that personally, even if it was for just 10 seconds. Like,
well, it's like the thing was like, he sees me going back and forth. He sees me doing these things.
No, I get it from your perspective. I understand why you would. I would have been way more like, I would have shot back at him like, what are you talking about? Like, look at what I've gotten done so far. Like, that's what but you're very much like, you don't bother. Like,
yeah, because like, what I'm gonna get into beef with this guy for like a good minute or two, waste my time with it when I could just go ahead, still do what I got to do. I mean, maybe that's kind of where it comes in, where like you guys assume like I'm never upset about anything, or like I'm so happy-go-lucky, but it's like, is that going to accomplish anything? Like at the end of the day, if I'm upset about something, if I let it go over my head for the entire day, or if I have to like argue with someone for like the next half hour about something that really could just be avoided altogether and continue getting things done,
So it doesn't like sit with you? Because here's the thing, like if I don't say, if somebody makes me upset, right? If they say something to me that was like, that really aggravated me, like even for like 10 seconds, I'm going to think about that when I'm driving home. And then I'm going to regret if I didn't like, you know what, I should have said something.
So on that, yeah, I would say I use my drive anywhere as like self-reflection, like really heavily. Like I don't just think it in my head. I speak to myself as I'm driving,
Really?
Yeah, because like I think once you say it out loud and you realize how ridiculous it is, then you're just kind of like, okay, I can see how it doesn't make sense to be freaking out about this,
Where did you learn that from somewhere? Because that makes sense. Like that sounds like it came from something.
Well, bro, like they tell you when you're writing an English paper, they tell you read it out loud. I mean,
fair. Yeah.
I mean, like there's only so much you can like think about inside your head before you need to start letting these things out. So like in my room, I have like a lot of whiteboards hanging everywhere, and like anytime I have an idea, I like write it down right away because I'm probably gonna forget it later.
Yeah.
What is it? It's like 3-5 tasks you can hold in your head at a given time.
News to me. I don't know.
Like that.
That's interesting. That's probably one of my problems is I don't write enough. One of the things that that my therapist was saying, like, you need to write more, because there's so many things that like I think about constantly that like the way that I see writing things down is I'd be writing things down all day, like literally, because like my mind constantly goes. Like I'm like thinking about, oh, like, what if I do this for this thing? And then what if I do? So like what I've tried to do now is I have to text, like, let's say, for example, let's say I come up with an idea for you. Like when I reached out to you about, being on the podcast, what I did was I thought about it as I was like working, right? But I'm like, if I don't send this text right now, I'm going to forget. And then and then I'm not going to remember to text you after, or it's going to be like way later down the road, and then I'm not going to have enough time to plan it or whatever. But like, I just wanted to, if I don't get that thought taken care of right then and there, like I'm going to forget about it for sure.
Okay.
And so that's how I've been dealing with things up until, my therapist was more like, well, you gotta, there's a lot that she's like, no wonder you're so anxious. She's like, because you just bottle all of these things up in your head and you never let anybody, like you never let it out. It's always in your head. And so then what happens is sometimes, well, it has to go somewhere, right? Like I would sometimes like, let's say in an argument, somebody says something to me, like you get like 10 years of pent up like anxiety and anger all at once because I just didn't write things down. So that's how you deal with it then.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, so I would say it also backfires.
Okay.
It's like if it's something related to someone else and I basically had that conversation with them by myself. And then it's all good with me because I already worked through it. I did not talk to that person on the issue and they're still upset about it. I found that kind of happens in certain relationships I have because like I would tell them like, oh, well, I just thought about it, I'm fine with what happened. Let's move on. And they're like, no, like you're not dealing with it properly. I'm like, I feel pretty good right now. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty good.
Well, I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing because you are only responsible for the way that you feel, right?
Yeah.
And if let's say, for example, like if you say something to me and I'm upset about what you said, it is my responsibility to bring it up to you and tell you, hey, like, this upset me, right? Like, whatever you said, and, can we talk about it? Like, that's the avenue we're supposed to take. Whereas with you, let's say, for example, if I said something to you and you were offended by it, like, I'm fine with it because like I'm not offended. But if you're offended, like I can't know that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like you have to tell me that.
Yeah. And like if same scenario, if that was me who I was offended, I don't think I'd probably bring it up.
Okay.
Because I probably would have moved on from it.
But I don't see a fault in that.
I don't either, but like I mainly notice it when I have like female friends, that don't like that very much.
But what is it? What is the complaint?
Well, maybe it's more like not just a female, but like closer to like a relationship, maybe.
Okay.
Something like that, where like I'll use one for example. I got to work in the Philippines for a good month because I was working for this MSP. And all my coworkers there are from the Philippines. So I got to fly out there, live there for an entire month. Before I went out there, I was introduced to one of my coworkers' friends, and she lived out there with me for that entire month. Like she stayed in my place.
Oh, cool.
We got to know each other. And when I came back and things were kind of fizzling out, I mean, I still like her. I thought she was really cool. But it's like, she would be upset that I'm not giving the time, and I would explain to her like, well, there's nothing that can really be done. I'm busy. You're busy. I know you're upset about it, but it is what it is. Let's progress forward. We can still be happy, but she just doesn't think that way.
Yeah.
The moving on part.